The Galactic Council spire floated in silence above the dead star Vector Prime. It was a giant tower made of crystal, older than most planets in the galaxy. For 40,000 years, it had been the center of power for 12 great alien species. On this day, all 12 had come together to make a choice. They had come to talk about humans. Inside the great hall, the air was cold and still. Long tables curved around a center stage. Soft blue light came from the walls. At the highest seat sat High Arbiter Velthorian Castle of the Voranth. The Voranth were tall and thin. They had silver skin and eyes that could read minds. Velthorian had ruled the council for 2,000 years. He was sure of himself today, very sure. "Members of the council," he said. His voice was smooth and cold. "We are here to deal with the human problem. They have grown too fast. They refuse to pay the tribute. They mock our laws. And now they teach our client species things they should never know. This cannot go on." Around the room, the other council members nodded. The Drelth, big creatures with thick scales, slammed their tails on the floor in agreement. The Mirov, who looked like floating jellyfish, glowed bright red. Anger was in the room, but it was a calm kind of anger, the kind that comes from being sure you are stronger. Velthorian raised a thin hand. A screen lit up in the middle of the hall. It showed pictures of human ships, small ones, old ones, ships that used chemical fuel to reach the stars not so long ago. "Look at them," Velthorian said. "They were apes only a few thousand years ago. They fight each other over small pieces of land. Their bodies are weak. They feel pain easily. They die from small things like sickness and old age. They are children, and children must be taught to obey." The screen changed. Now it showed records of human wars, big ones, small ones, wars over food, over gods, over money. The council members watched and made small sounds of disgust. "They have fought wars for 10,000 years, Velthorian went on. And what have they learned? Nothing. They are still violent, still emotional. They cannot rule themselves, much less be part of our great council. We must take their worlds. We must teach them their place. We must do it now before they grow any stronger." Then a small voice spoke from the back of the hall. "You are wrong." Every head turned. The voice came from Ambassador Earl of the Skarn. He was old, very old. His shell had cracks in it from many long years. The Skarn looked like big crabs that walked on two legs. Earl was the only council member who had ever been to Earth. He had stayed there for 60 years. Velthorian smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Speak, old friend. Tell us what we are missing." Earl stepped forward slowly. His many legs clicked on the stone floor. "You have looked at human wars," he said. "I have looked at human peace, and in their peace I see something that should make you all afraid." Some of the council members laughed. Soft, quiet laughs. The kind powerful people make when they think someone is foolish. Earl did not stop. "Humans are not like us. We grow slowly. We change slowly. We have lived the same way for ages, but humans, they change every day. They learn from every mistake. They take what hurts them and turn it into a tool. Their wars do not weaken them. Their wars teach them. And the things they have learned in the last 300 years would shock this room into silence." "Enough," said the Drelth ambassador. His voice was deep. "You have lived among them too long. They have made you soft." "No," Earl said. "They have made me wise. There is a difference." Velthorian raised his hand again. "We have heard your warning, ambassador. We will note it for the records, but we are 12 great species. We have 10,000 worlds. Our fleets are like the stars in number. The humans hold only 47 star systems. They are nothing, less than nothing. We will vote now." The vote came fast. One by one the council members spoke. The Voranth voted yes. The Drelth voted yes. The Mirov, the Korathi, the Terran, the Quesari, all of them, one after another. Yes, yes, yes. 11 yes votes. The vote came to Earl last. "No," he said, his voice shook a little, "and may the stars forgive you all." It did not matter. The vote was 11 to 1. War was declared. The order went out at once. 8,000 warships began to gather at the Corward Gate, the closest jump point to human space. The fleet was the largest ever made. It carried weapons that could crack open whole worlds. It carried soldiers from every council species. It was sent to teach humans a lesson they would never forget. The declaration of subjugation was sent across the galaxy on every channel. It said that humans were now property of the council. It said they had 1 week to surrender. It said that any human who fought back would be killed without mercy. 12 hours passed. Then the human reply came. The council members gathered to see it. They thought they would see fear. They thought they would see crying. They thought they would see humans on their knees begging. Instead, they saw one woman. She was African, middle-aged, with short gray hair and dark eyes that held no fear at all. She wore a simple gray suit. Behind her, a window showed Earth, blue and calm and beautiful. Her name was Secretary General Amara Okonkwo. She was the leader of all of humanity. She did not shout. She did not threaten. She did not even seem angry. She just looked at the camera and she smiled. It was a small smile, a polite smile. The kind of smile a teacher gives to a child who has just done something foolish. Then she spoke, just 5 words. Acknowledged, we'll see you soon. The signal cut off. The council hall was quiet. Velthorian made a small sound of amusement. Brave words from a small species, he said. They will learn what they are facing soon enough. But Earl stood very still. His old eyes were wide. His shell shook a little. He did not say anything more. He just turned and walked out of the hall, his many legs moving faster than they had moved in years. Some of the council members watched him go and laughed. They should not have laughed. In a small room far away, Earl began to plan. He had to get to Earth. He had to warn them, not warn the humans. They did not need warning. He had to find a way to warn his own people, to tell them before it was too late what was about to happen. But it was already too late. The fleet had begun to move. The war had begun. And the council had no idea at all, that they had just made the worst choice in the history of the galaxy, the choice that would end them all. 3 weeks passed after the council's declaration. In those 3 weeks, something strange happened, or rather, nothing happened, and the nothing was the strangest thing of all. The council had expected panic. They had spies in human space, watching every move. They had thought they would see refugee ships running away. They had thought they would see human leaders begging for mercy. They had thought trade would stop, markets would crash, people would riot in the streets. None of that happened. Human shops stayed open. People went to work. Children went to school. Trade ships moved between worlds like nothing was wrong. The stock markets did not even shake. It was as if humans had not heard the war declaration at all, or worse, as if they did not care. The council's spies sent worried reports. Something was wrong, something was missing. The humans were being too calm, too normal. It did not feel right. Deep under the Atlas Mountains in North Africa, in a place no map showed, the Joint Defense Command of Earth was awake and busy. Cold light filled the rooms. Hundreds of officers worked at their stations. The air smelled of coffee and old paper. Admiral Sasha Voronova stood in the middle of the main room. She was tall and thin, with sharp eyes and short black hair turning gray at the sides. She was 60 years old. She had served in the United Earth Navy for 40 of those years. She had seen many things, but today was the day she had been waiting for her whole life. An officer ran up to her. "Admiral, the Council fleet is gathering at the Corward Gate, 8,000 ships. They will jump in 7 days." Sasha did not even look up from the screen she was reading. She took a sip of her coffee. "Activate Protocol Cassandra," she said. The officer froze for a moment. Protocol Cassandra was a name everyone in the room knew. It had been written 80 years ago on the day humans first met aliens. It had been kept secret. Most people thought it was just a story, a made-up plan that would never be used, but here it was, real, now. "Yes, Admiral," the officer said. He turned and ran. Sasha finally looked up. She saw young officers around her watching. Some of them looked scared. Some looked excited. She gave them a small smile. "Don't worry," she said softly. "We've been ready for this since before any of you were born." At the same time, far above Earth, a small ship came out of jump space. It was a Skarn courier ship. It had no escort. It was alone. The ship sent a message to Earth on an old, secret code that only one person was supposed to know. The code worked. The ship was given clearance to land. It was Earl. He had stolen the ship. He had run from his home. He had come to warn humanity, not because he loved them, but because he was afraid for his own people. He thought maybe, just maybe, if he could speak to the humans, he could find a way to stop the war before too many died. He was taken from the spaceport to the leader's office in a black car. He saw the streets of Earth as he traveled, people walking, children laughing, birds in trees. He saw no fear anywhere. He felt cold inside his shell. Secretary General Amara Okonkwo met him in a small room. She was alone. No guards, no advisors, just her, sitting in a soft chair with 2 cups of tea on the table. She stood when he came in and bowed politely in the Skarn way. "Ambassador," she said, "please sit, you must be tired." "I have come to warn you," Earl said. His voice was tight. "The fleet that comes for you, it is the largest fleet ever made, 8,000 ships. They carry weapons your science cannot stop. They have soldiers from every species. You are 40 to 1 against them. You cannot win. But maybe if I speak for you, if I beg the council, we can find a way to save many lives. Please, listen to me." Amara did not answer right away. She picked up her teacup. She took a small sip. She looked at him with kind, calm eyes. Then she put the cup down and pushed a tablet across the table to him. "Look at this," she said softly, "and then tell me again that we cannot win." Earl reached out a claw and turned the tablet to face him. He read what was on the screen. His mandibles fell open. His eyes grew wide. The crack in his old shell seemed to crack a little more. He read it again. He read it a 3rd time. The translator in his ear made small, empty sounds. He had no words. What he saw on that tablet he would never tell anyone. Not for many years, not until the war was over. But in that moment, Earl understood something. He understood that the Skarn had not made a small mistake by voting yes to war. They had made the biggest mistake any species had ever made. The vote had not started a war. The vote had ended one. They just did not know it yet. "How long?" Earl whispered. "How long have you been ready?" Amara took the tablet back gently. "Since the first day," she said. "Since the day your people first came to our sky and looked down at us like we were nothing. We knew this day would come. We have prepared for it for a long time." Then why did you let us declare it? Why did you not stop us before?" She smiled that same small, polite smile. "Some lessons can only be learned by the asking, Ambassador. Now sit, drink your tea. The fleet will arrive in 4 days. After that, we can talk more." 4 days later, the Vorinth flagship Eternal Hierarchy came out of jump space at the edge of Earth's solar system. Behind it, 8,000 more ships followed. The fleet was so big that ship sensors could not see all of it at once. It was a wall of metal and fire stretching across millions of kilometers. It was death made into a fleet. High Arbiter Velthorian sat on the bridge of his great ship. He looked at the screens. He waited to see human ships. He waited to see panic. He waited for the war to begin. But there were no human ships. The space around Earth was empty. No fleet, no defense lines, no battle stations. Nothing. Just the cold dark and the small blue light of Earth far in the distance. Velthorian frowned. "Where are they hiding?" he asked. His sensor officer worked quickly. "Sir, I am picking up only one human ship, a small freighter. It is drifting near the outer planets. It has no weapons. It is broadcasting. Music, sir, old human music." Velthorian made a sound of disgust. "They send us music. Are they mocking us?" He waved his hand. "Destroy it. Then we will move in to take Earth." The order was given. A great kill beam shot from the lead ship. It hit the freighter dead center. There was a flash, but no explosion. Instead, the freighter began to unfold. It opened like a flower made of metal and light, growing bigger and bigger. Pieces flew out from it in every direction. They locked together in the dark. They formed shapes the Council had never seen. The freighter was not a ship at all. It was a seed, and it was just the first one to wake up. The thing that came out of the freighter grew across thousands of kilometers of empty space. Velthorian watched on his screen, frozen. The metal flowers kept opening. They kept making new shapes. Long arms, strange weapons, shields that bent the light around them. It was a battle station, but it was alive. It was made of something the Council scientists had never seen. "What is that?" Velthorian shouted. "What are we looking at?" His science officer was pale. Even for a Voranth, he looked sick. "It is matter that thinks, sir. It changes itself. It writes new shapes for itself as it goes. We have nothing like this. No one does." Velthorian's hand shook. "Fire on it, all ships now." 10,000 beams of light shot out at once. They hit the human structure. The structure shook. Pieces of it broke off. But then, before the Council fleet's eyes, it healed. It grew the broken parts back, faster than they had been broken. The shape that took the most damage became the strongest part. The structure was learning, while being shot at, in real time. And then it shot back. The first wave of human fire hit 20 Voranth ships. They did not just blow up. They came apart in clean pieces, like fruit being cut by a sharp knife. The human weapons did not use heat or kinetic force. They used something else. Something that took ships apart at the level of small particles. Velthorian was about to give another order when his sensor officer shouted in fear. "Sir, more signals, all over the system. They are everywhere." All over the solar system, things began to wake up. In the asteroid belt, rocks that had drifted there for thousands of years cracked open. Inside each one was another seed, just like the freighter. They began to unfold. On Mars, in places under the red sand, hidden bunkers opened. Ships came out. On Jupiter's moons, whole stations rose from under the ice. Even comets, far out in the dark, were not really comets. They were weapons, sleeping, now waking up. There were thousands of them, tens of thousands. The whole solar system had been turned into a giant trap, and the Council had flown right into the middle of it. "Retreat!" Velthorian screamed. "All ships retreat, get back to the jump point." It was too late. The retreat could not work. As the Voranth ships turned to run, small human ships came out of nowhere. They came out of micro-jumps inside the Council fleet, right in the middle, so close that the big Council ships could not even shoot at them. The human ships were small and ugly and fast. They did not look like art. They looked like tools, tools made for one job, to take other ships apart. And they did not blow up the Council ships. That was the strange part. They cut into them. They made holes. Then human soldiers came out in special suits and went inside the Council ships. They took prisoners. They took computers. They took weapons. They were not killing for fun. They were collecting. Velthorian watched a small human ship come right at his flagship. He ordered every gun to fire on it. The guns fired. The little ship moved like water around the beams. It was on his ship in seconds. Then it was inside his ship. He could hear fighting in the corridors, screams, booms, the sound of metal being cut. On Earth, in the command room under the mountains, Admiral Sasha Voronova watched the battle on her screens. She was eating a sandwich. She did not look excited. She did not look happy. She looked like a woman doing a job she had done many times before. Next to her, Earl stood and watched too. His shell shook. He saw his Council's pride, the great fleet, being taken apart like a child's toy. 8,000 ships. By the end of the first hour, half were already dead or captured. By the end of the second hour, only 2,000 could still fight. By the end of the third hour, a few hundred ran for the jump point. Out of the 8,000 ships that came, only 400 made it home. High Arbiter Velthorian was not one of them. His great flagship, the Eternal Hierarchy, had been boarded. He had been taken alive. The humans had brought him to Earth, to stand and answer for what he had done. In the days after the battle, Earl could not stop watching the news. The humans did not just defeat the fleet, they studied it. Every captured ship was taken apart. The humans found out how Council weapons worked. They made better ones. The drives, the shields, the computers, the codes, the war plans, the secret bases, the names of every spy, the Council's deepest secrets, all of it. The humans took everything. And they did it in days, not years, days. Earl finally understood. Humans did not fight wars to win them. They fought wars to learn from them. Every Council ship that fired at them gave them a free lesson. Every Council weapon used against them got copied and made stronger. The humans had not just stopped the fleet. They had eaten it. They had used it as food. They were stronger now than they had been 1 week ago. Much stronger. In a quiet room on Earth, Velthorian sat across from a young human officer. The officer was a woman, maybe 30 years old. She had brown hair and tired eyes. She drank coffee. She did not look afraid of him at all. "You are war criminals," Velthorian hissed at her. "My people will come for me. The Council will burn this world." The young woman just smiled a little. "Sir," she said gently, "there is no Council coming. We have been talking to your people, to the ones you ruled over. They have many things to say about you." She turned a screen toward him. He saw faces. Voranth faces, Skarn faces, Drelth faces, faces from every Council world. They were not afraid. They were angry at him, at the Arbiters, at the system that had pressed down on them for 10,000 years. The humans had reached out to them, quietly, through secret channels. The humans had offered them something the Council had never offered, a choice. Velthorian could not speak. Back on Earth in the deep command room, Earl finally turned to Admiral Sasha. "How did you do this?" he asked. "How did you build all of this in secret? 3 centuries is not enough time. It cannot be." Sasha looked at him with calm gray eyes. 3 centuries was more than enough, she said. "You see, Ambassador, when your Council first came to our sky and told us what we were allowed to do and not allowed to do, we did not say no. We just smiled. We just nodded. And then we got to work. We worked for 300 years, and while we worked, we listened. We watched. We learned every law of yours, every secret, every hidden weakness. We did not build 1 fleet. We built 1,000 fleets. We did not build defenses for 1 world. We built defenses on every world we could reach, some of them in places you would not believe." She paused. She looked at him with eyes that held no anger, just a deep, deep tiredness. The tiredness of a person who has carried a heavy thing for a very long time. "You should know, Ambassador, the Council's mistake was not declaring war on us. The Council's mistake was thinking they were the ones who had a choice. After the great battle in the Sol system, the news spread fast. Every world in the galaxy heard about it. The Council's invincible fleet broken in 3 hours, 8,000 ships gone, the High Arbiter taken alive. People could not believe it at first. Then they could not stop talking about it. The Council had been the most powerful thing in the galaxy for 40,000 years. Now, in a single day, it had cracked. And humanity did not stop. Humanity moved next. But humans did not move the way the Council had moved. The Council had always come to a world like a fire, burning everything, killing the leaders, taking the wealth, telling the people they were now slaves. That was the Council way. It was old. It was simple. It worked mostly because no one had ever been able to fight back. Humans came differently. Human fleets, when they arrived at a Council stronghold, did not start shooting. They just sat in space, big and quiet, and they sent a message. The message was the same on every world. It was sent in 4,000 languages. It said, "Your government declared war on us. We have come to talk about other ways. Please send a representative." Many worlds sent representatives right away. They had heard about the Sol battle. They were not stupid. They knew what would happen if they refused. The humans would meet with these representatives in big tents on neutral ground. They would talk for hours, sometimes days. They would offer terms. The terms were always the same. The arbiter class would be removed. The tribute system would end. The world would have free elections. Humans would help them set up new governments. Then humans would leave. That last part was the strangest. Humans would leave. They would not stay. They would not take wealth. They would not take land. They would just help, and then they would go home. Worlds that had feared a human invasion came to look forward to it instead. The word spread fast. The humans were not coming to take. They were coming to free. But not every world was happy to talk. The Voranth homeworld of Threxel was the first to refuse. Threxel was the seat of council power. It had the strongest defenses in the galaxy. Its planetary shields had not been broken in 12,000 years. The Voranth ruling council laughed at the human message. They sent back a video of themselves laughing. They said, "Come and try, primates." Humans took 9 minutes. It was not even a long fight. The human fleet arrived. They sent the warning message. The Voranth refused. So humans did something the galaxy thought was impossible. They turned off the Threxel planetary shields from orbit with one move. The shields had been built to last forever. The humans had found 7 ways to break them. They picked the easiest one. The shields fell. Then human troops landed. They wore black armor. They moved in small groups. They were fast and quiet. They went straight to the Great Hall of Hierarchy. They did not blow up cities. They did not kill people on the street. They did not even hurt most of the soldiers who tried to stop them. They just walked through them. Their weapons knocked enemies out, not killed them, most of the time. In the Hall of Hierarchy, the human soldiers found the surviving council members. They placed them under arrest. They charged them in the council's own laws with crimes against sapient species. The humans had read the council's law books carefully. They knew the laws better than the council did. They had a list of every law each arbiter had broken. The list was very long. There was no defense. Then humans set up a new government for Threxel. Not a human government, a Voranth one, made of dissidents, made of regular Voranth who had hated the arbiters for a long time but had never been able to speak up. Now they could. The humans gave them weapons, computers, food, and money to start with. Then humans got back on their ships and left. Other worlds saw this and did not need to be asked twice. The Drelth world surrendered without firing a shot. The Mirov world sent flowers to the human fleet. The Terran dissidents rose up themselves and arrested their own arbiters before humans even arrived. The Quesari, who had been one of the cruelest council species, had a revolution in just 3 weeks. By the end, only one council species had not given up. The Korathi. The Korathi were old. They were not like other species. They were not made of flesh. They were made of silicon, like rocks, but smarter. They lived in hive minds with millions of bodies sharing one mind. They had run the council's money system for thousands of years. They had been the ones who collected tribute. They had been the ones who broke worlds that did not pay. They were proud and they were cruel and they did not want to give up. So they used their last weapon. The Korathi had a thing they had built long ago, a weapon so terrible it had never been used. It was called a star killer. It was a small device that could make a black hole and aim it. They had built it just in case. They had hoped never to need it. Now they decided the time had come. They turned the star killer on. They aimed it at one place, Sol, the home star of the humans. They wanted to make humanity disappear forever. The black hole formed. It began to move towards Sol at incredible speed. It was unstoppable, or it should have been. On Earth, the warning came in. Admiral Sasha Voronova listened to her officers. They told her the speed, the size, the path. They said it would hit Sol in 11 hours. They said there was no known way to stop it. They said the human race might be ending tonight. Sasha listened to all of this. Then she said calmly, "Send it back." Her officers stared at her. "Admiral, you heard me. Send it back. Use the redirect method. We have practiced this for 40 years. It is time to use it." In space, far out from the sun, a great structure that no human had spoken about in public turned itself on. It was a thing made of bent space and strange physics. It had been built in secret. In case of just this kind of attack, it worked by reaching out and grabbing the path of a thing flying through space. Then it bent the path. The thing did not slow down. It just turned. It went where the structure wanted it to go. The black hole was caught. It was turned around. It was sent back the way it had come, right back at the Korathi homeworld. The Korathi tried to evacuate. Their evacuation fleets started up, but the black hole was very fast. It got there 19 seconds before the first ship could leave. The Korathi homeworld was not destroyed. It was eaten. The black hole swallowed it whole, along with 2 moons and a small ring of stations. Where there had been a planet, now there was just dark. Then the black hole spread out and went away, and the place where the Korathi had ruled for ages was just empty space. The galaxy went silent, not in sadness, not in fear, just in shock. Every species on every world looked at what humans had done. They had not just defeated the Council. They had taken its strongest weapon and used it to end one of its own species. In 19 seconds, with a thing they had built just in case. And the same question went through every mind in the galaxy at the same time. A question that no one had thought to ask before. A question that suddenly everyone needed an answer to. What exactly are humans? 1 year passed after the Council declared war on humanity. In that year, more changed in the galaxy than had changed in the last 40,000 years. The old Council was gone. Its members had been arrested or had run away or had been killed by their own people. Its great hall on Vector Prime stood empty, its lights off, its halls full of dust. The crystalline tower was now a museum. Tourists came to walk through it and see how the old rulers had lived. The biggest stop on the tour was the high seat where Velthorian had once sat. Now it had a small sign next to it that said, "This is where the war began. May we never make this mistake again." The galaxy had a new government now. It was called the Reformed Concord. It met on a small green world called Merau, which had never been important before. Merau was chosen because it was neutral. No species had ever ruled there. No blood had ever been spilled on its soil. The new Concord had been built from the ground up with help from humans, but not led by humans. Every species had 1 seat. Every seat was equal. Even the smallest species, ones the old Council had never let speak, now had the same vote as the biggest ones. On the day of the first Concord meeting, the Great Hall was full. Every chair had a representative in it. The hall was loud. The hall was alive. There was talking, laughing, even arguing. The old Council hall had always been quiet like a tomb. This new hall was different. It felt like a market. It felt like a school. It felt like a place where things could change. Earl of the Skarn opened the meeting. He had been chosen by all the species to be the first speaker. He was very old now. The cracks in his shell had grown longer. He could not walk fast anymore, but his eyes were bright. He stood at the speaker's stand and looked at the hall, and he said only a few words. "My friends," he said, "we are alive. Many thought we would not be. Today, let us begin again." The hall stood and clapped. Many cried. The meeting went on for many hours. Many things were decided: trade laws, travel rules, help for the poor worlds, plans for new schools. The Concord was getting to work. At the end, Secretary General Amara Okonkwo stood up to speak. She was the last to speak. She had asked for that herself. She did not want to lead. She wanted to listen first. Now finally she had her turn. She did not give a long speech. She did not list humanity's wins. She did not even mention the war. She just said one thing. "I have one request for the new Concord," she said. Her voice was calm. "I ask that we make one law above all other laws, one simple rule, that no species anywhere in this galaxy shall ever be denied the right to grow, not by a council, not by a king, not by anyone. If we agree to this, then I think we will be okay. If we do not, then we will end up where we started, and someone someday will have to start the war over again. Let us not do that. Let us decide today that growth is a right." The vote came. Every hand in the hall went up. Every species, every voice agreed. The law passed. It was the first law of the new Concord, and it has been the first law ever since. After the meeting, in a small private room with a window looking out at the green hills of Meirau, Earl met with Amara one last time. They sat across from each other. 2 cups of tea. The same as the first time they had met, more than a year ago, in a small room on Earth. Earl spoke first. Amara, he said. He had earned the right to use her name. There is one thing I must ask you, the thing you showed me on the tablet that day. Will you show it to me again? I am old. I will die soon. I want to know before I go. Amara looked at him with kind eyes. She nodded. She took out a small tablet from her bag. She turned it on. She turned it to face him. Earl looked at it. He had thought he would not be shocked again. He had seen so much in the last year, but he was shocked, even more than the first time. It was a map of the galaxy. On the map were small dots of light. Each dot was a place where humans had quietly built something. Each dot was a sleeper base, or a hidden colony, or a station full of soldiers waiting to wake up, or a piece of adaptive matter sleeping, ready to unfold into a fortress at one signal. There were 11,000 dots. 11,000. And worse, the dots were everywhere. Inside Voranth space, inside Skarn space, inside Drelth space, inside the old council headquarters itself. There was even a dot, very small, very dim, inside the Korathi homeworld before that world had been eaten. Humans had been there, inside, hidden, for decades, maybe longer. Earl could not speak for a long time. The galaxy he had thought he knew had not been the galaxy at all. The council had not been ruling anything. The council had been surrounded. Humans had been everywhere. They had been listening, watching, waiting, ready at any moment to wake up everywhere at once and end the council in a single day. You could have ended us in a week, Earl whispered. You could have ended us before we even knew we were at war. Yes, Amara said softly, we could have. Then why, Earl asked. Why let us declare it? Why let us send the fleet? Why let so many of our soldiers die? You could have stopped us before we ever made the choice. You could have warned us. We would have listened in the end. Amara did not answer right away. She picked up her tea. She took a slow drink. She looked out the window at the green hills. The wind moved the grass. A small bird flew by. Then she put her cup down. Earl, she said, if we had stopped you before you voted, you would have always wondered. You would have always thought maybe, just maybe, you could have one. Your young people would have grown up wanting to try again. Your arbiters would have made up stories about how they almost beat the humans. The dream of fighting us would have lived on in every council world. And one day, in 100 years, or 500, or 1,000, someone would have tried. Did not want that. We did not want to be feared forever. We did not want to be a story your children told to scare each other at night. So we waited. We let you make the choice. We let you make it freely without us pushing you. We let you go all the way to the door and open it yourselves. Then when you saw what was on the other side, you understood. There was no winning the war against us. The war had already been over before it began. There was nothing to dream about, nothing to try again. Some things can only be learned by the asking, Earl. We let you ask. Now you know. Earl looked at her for a long time. His old eyes were wet. He nodded slowly. He understood. After all this time, he finally understood. That night, the New Concord sent its first message out across the galaxy. It was sent on every channel in every language. It was short. It was simple. It would be remembered on every world for as long as the galaxy lasted. Let it be recorded. On this day, the old council declared war on humanity. It was their last decision. May it also be ours. And it was. The galaxy never had a war like that again, not because humans were feared, but because finally, after 40,000 years, the galaxy had learned. It had learned that strength is not in size, strength is not in fleets, strength is in patience, strength is in waiting. Strength is in giving others the chance to choose, and then, when they choose, helping them see the truth. Earl died 3 years later, in his sleep. On the green hills of Meirau, Amara was there with him at the end. She held his old claw in her small, soft hand. She did not say anything. Words were not needed. The galaxy was at peace. The work was done. And somewhere far away on a small blue world called Earth, children played in the grass under a kind yellow sun, knowing nothing about war and all the better for it.